Good morning, everyone. We are in week 6 of the Starting Over program. And for this week, I literally just had to stare in the mirror for like 10 hours. That was basically my homework because this week is all about codependency, setting boundaries, walls versus gates, and I'll go into that here in a minute. There is so much in week 6 that there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to get through it. So I am just going to kind of focus on changing what we can when we're not happy with what's happening in our lives. So last week we talked about the content we consume and taking inventory on that. So naturally this week, let's take a little bit of inventory on the company we keep. So codependency at its core, like the most easiest way to define it is putting others' needs before yourself. So for me, I've had to write a note on my computer screen that if I want to change somebody or if I want to change something, what can I change about myself? So when I first started Cornbread Hustle, a lot of you already know this, I was still drinking. I was still in active alcoholism. I'm 15 years clean from using drugs, well, methamphetamines to be exact, and then I'm 3.5 years sober from alcohol. And I started Cornbread Hustle, my staffing agency for second chances, 6 years ago. So at least 3 years out of my journey of creating this company, I was still an active alcoholic. So I had no boundaries, and I basically, if I'm being honest with myself, my codependency is what kind of was the root of what started this company. My father struggled with addiction, and I always saw his potential, and I grew up with a lot of friends that struggled with addiction because I did as well. And so I've just always seen so much potential in people who have had what some would call a rebellious past, but honestly, it's just a lot of us are currently self-medicating other things that we're dealing with, and it's a coping mechanism, right? Maladaptive coping mechanism, but we're self-medicating anxiety, depression, wanting to escape reality. I still to this day, every single day, I want to escape my reality sometimes because life is hard. So when I first started this company, I had no boundaries, zero. And it caused me a lot of issues because I didn't love myself enough to show up for myself, so I couldn't show up for others. And so I had a lot of unhealthy relationships. And then whenever I got into recovery, I started putting up walls. And that wasn't good either because I had this mask that I was wearing of just achieving success, and I wasn't able to be vulnerable with anybody about what was going on with me. And so I stuffed a lot of feelings down on the inside, and that caused me a lot of problems as well. And it caused the same result, unhealthy relationships. So in week 6, I talk a lot about having a gate instead of walls or no boundaries. So I can see you through the gate, you can see me through the gate. If I want to let you in, I swing open the gate, I let you in. If I'm not vibing with you, you're going right back outside that gate. Hi, I still see you, I'm gonna love you from afar. So kind of, if you can, take some inventory of your personal relationships. Are there some that you feel that there's absolutely zero boundaries? You're not showing up for yourself. You're putting other people's needs before your own. And is there a way that you can start creating some kind of boundaries? And a lot of times, especially when we're in unhealthy relationships, especially some of the people we work with who just got out of prison and they're coming back home and trying to start fresh with their family members, other people can see you setting boundaries as disrespect or that you don't love them as much, or you're mad at them. So explaining to other people that you're setting this boundary because you value them and because you value this relationship, that's really helpful as well. Another thing, and I'm already at 5 minutes into this video, week 6 is just full of so much content. Maybe I can get my tech guy to just give the full video on a Google link or something. I bet he's watching this video right now, rolling his eyes. But James, maybe we can do a Google link with just this video for those who really want to dive deeper into this. But whenever I'm taking inventory of my personal relationships or situations, I know that there's 3 things that I can do to give myself inner peace. So it's either accept the situation, and a lot of times I have to go through this with business decisions, right? Like I accept it. Am I going to accept the way things are going right now and be okay with it? If the answer is no, then I have to go on to the next option, which is change it. Am I going to change it? If I feel like I don't have the strength to change a situation that I'm in, or I feel like it's not going to work or yield the results that I want, the very final option is abandon it. So a lot of times for me in business decisions, abandonment is usually not the answer unless it's deciding to walk away from a client because it's not yielding fruit. Or in relationships, if you could potentially be in an abusive relationship and you don't want to accept the situation you're in, you don't want to change it, or you can't change it because you can only change yourself, right? You can't control if others change themselves. So maybe that's a situation where you abandon that situation. Or if it has to do with a child or a relationship or a situation where you are just not willing to abandon, then that's when you have to look at the 2 different options of, am I going to just accept things the way they are? This could even be something as simple as a quirk that your husband has. Like maybe just instead of allowing it to constantly consume your thoughts and cause arguments, maybe just meditate on the fact of, you know what? I love him wholly or her wholly for who they are, and I'm going to accept this quirk because they haven't changed in 13 years, so why would they change now? And so I'm going to change what I can, which is myself, and I'm going to either do X differently or I'm simply just going to accept this for what it is. So 3 different things you can do to give yourself peace whenever you are struggling in a situation you're unhappy with. Accept things for what they are, make a change, or abandon the situation or relationship. So this week's homework is obviously taking inventory of your relationships or your situations. Is there something that's making you unhappy right now? And what can you do to change that? And can you move towards the direction of setting healthy boundaries and having those conversations? Are you the type of person that as you're watching this video, you realize that maybe you are standing behind a wall and not allowing anybody in, and it's affecting your relationships or your own peace? Because I know both sides. Whenever I had no boundaries and whenever I had a complete stone wall, it was the same result. I was miserable either way, and my relationship suffered. So maybe there's some relationships in your life where you can kind of move from wall to gate or no boundaries to gate. And I am going to see if I'm able to post a link in the comments to the entire video because this has so much content and I don't want to give just a little bit of something on LinkedIn and then you feel lost without extra tools. So I'll see what I can do. Everybody have an amazing week and I hope this was helpful. Goodbye.